need to give really a large round of applause for Kristyn Wong-Tam, that amazing MVP puts that together and all the great stats. So let's give it a I'm going to do a land acknowledgement, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes of some hope, because there's lots of hope, right? We were saying in the old days, and you'll response to this, call and response to Richard, and I would say, we're queer, and you would say, we're here. Except you could say a whole lot longer than that.
We're here.
We're here. Right on. So I'm sure you know why we're here. And I just want to tell you a few things before we go into the Latin acknowledgement and welcome our candidates are amazing. First of all, I'm really old. In 1971, I was the only woman that signed on to a We the Band statement back then. And I want to tell you that if you're feeling to live in dark times now, there are about 15 of us in Toronto Gay Action that marched on Parliament Hill. It grew to about 50. We said there were 150, but and we demanded things like equal marriage, not being fired from your job if you're queer, access to your children, having landlords rent for you if you were queer. We were asking for all of those things, and guess what? We won every single freaking one of them. At Queen's Park, the NDP, I was first critic there. In 2012, we passed Toby's Act, which was the first major jurisdiction in North America to have trans rights and human rights in the code. We passed parent equality, we passed banning conversion therapy, both first in Canada. We passed Trans Day of Remembrance first, as far as I know, anywhere where the entire legislature has to stand up. And guess what? We're going to get gender affirming healthcare too, right? So this place has been affirming since 1996. Just so you know, and the United States of Canada did for Gay Day, that's when I walked in the door in 1988. Openly gay and lesbians vote, and now extended that. So you know where you are. I'm going to acknowledge that we were the first, though, to be on this property. As we assemble in this holy place, we recognize that for thousands of years, this territory has been a sacred gathering place for many peoples of Turtle Island. And we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of several Indigenous nations and wish to pay special recognition to the Mississaugas of credit. The original nations continue to cry out for justice. As treaty people, we commit to listen, learn, and work to right the wrongs of the past and present. That will say, amen. And come on out. This is what Sharon Noble is obviously a queer icon in our community. Someone who has fought tirelessly for LGBT rights and equality in Ontario, not just this year, but for many years. And much of the rights that we have today, we have you, Sharon, to thank for us. Thank you for all the work you've done. All of you.
obviously you are here because it's an issue that you care very deeply about. Right now, in Ontario, right across Canada, and around the world, there is bad shit going down. Oh, can I say that in church? Sherry gave me permission to say that. Stuff is going down, and it's not good. And there's a lot of vitriol, a lot of hate being directed at our community, and we didn't ask for it, but they're coming to us and they're picking up fights. And the time for me to reintroduce this bill, the Gender Affirming Healthcare Advisory Committee Act, is really long title, but this bill has been at least part reform. For those who've been following the activity around the bill, many of you have participated in the consultation of writing the bill, know that it's not a new bill. It's a bill that was introduced in 2018, and it's a bill that has really been written with the community, for the community. And the bill is very simple. We want to create an opportunity at Queen's Park where subject matter experts, people with lived experience, can come together to give honest professional advice to the Minister of Health so that she can do something to the healthcare system to ensure that gender-affirming care for our community is far more accessible and universally accessed. Right now, we know that the wait times for gender-affirming care in Ontario are far too long. We need to ensure that we have equitable access to a wide range of care that's appropriate for our community to meet the individual needs of the transgender, two-spirited, non-binary, intersection, and gender diverse people of Ontario. We need to expand OHIP coverage for gender-affirming treatment and transition-related procedures. We need to make sure that when someone walks to the door to talk to a health practitioner and a health professional, that they're going to be treated with respect. Right? And we are not asking for anything that anyone else in Ontario does not have, which is access to healthcare, a healthcare that's meeting our needs as a community. So I am going to bring forward a panel of speakers who are, number one, really rich in experience, but also subject matter experts, because they have been living the truth and walking this very beautiful journey and bringing some of you with them. Some of you will know the organizations that they work with. Some of you will know their work, as you may have seen it on TV. But I think that it's a very special opportunity for us to gather in Trinity St. Paul's, this beautiful facility. Thank you for hosting us tonight. I want to give a shout out to MPP Jessica Bell, who's here, representing the support. The Queer Caucus of the Ontario MPP is not here, except for myself. But I can tell you that we have 3 other members who are very keenly waiting to debate this bill tomorrow when we go back to the House when the bill goes into second reading. So let me introduce our panel. Let's first of all, are you guys ready? Actually, why don't I bring you on the stage right now? Come on up. I want to make sure I honor them by providing you information about who they are, because they're not just 3 beautiful, wonderful human beings that are sitting on the stage. They come to us with a wide range of experience. And some of you will have some really amazing experiences and qualifications that you would like to share with us. But I want you to know that they're giving up their time to share their energy and their passions with us and their stories. To my far right, and not far right at all, to the right of the stage, on the left, is Jordan Zach, organizer and mental health worker and parent of 2 energetic children, aged 9 and 5. And I wanted to say how special it is for trans people to have kids and be parents. Because we Jewish settler, queer, trans, and educator, facilitator, and of course, a mental parent. When they worked at Rainbow Health Ontario, they connected hundreds of Ontario clinicians as healthcare professionals through mentorship opportunities. They did a lot of amazing work to make sure that they were educated to be able to deliver gender-inclusive care. They also have hosted Transforming Rounds podcast, a CI HR-funded project looking at topical trans health issues from intersectional, political, and community perspectives, and have done an extraordinary amount of work for the trans community for over 20 years. Thank you very much. Next is Sil Fernando. I'm going to get this wrong, but Sil and I known each other when I was 17 years old when I first met Sil. Sil, so they have older on me. If I give it back, this might be my skill today. Sil is a senior program manager at Rainbow Health Ontario. Since joining Rainbow Health Ontario in 2018, Sil has educated more than 5,500 healthcare providers and consulted with hundreds of organizations. Sil has been a community organizer for over 30 years, drawing strength from the knowledge that building community nurtures us to continue the work that we need to do to build a world that is equitable, that is diverse, inclusive, and accessible, and is embedded in the pillars of fair and just society. Sil Fernando. Our next and final panelist is Bilal Bey, who is a South Asian Canadian playwright, actor, and workshop facilitator who grew up in Mississauga, Ontario. You've probably seen him on TV if you haven't, get your act together and go watch. Bilal started a groundbreaking show, sort of, that initially aired on CBC Gem. Bilal was a co-creator, executive producer, and the writer of the show. Bilal also created the dramatic work Acha, which boldly explores the intersections between queerness, gender identity, Islamic culture, and the Pakistani diaspora. And then in December 2023, Playwrights Canada Press released a book of monologues, essays, poetry, and opinion pieces that was also co-edited by Bilal. It is entitled "This Is Beyond a Time of Actual Queer Experiences." Bilal Bey. Okay, so Monica Forster, who is also on the bill, as many of you will know, she was not able to join us. She's actually come down with the cold that everybody seems to have. We want to send Monica, if you're watching Monica on the live stream, we send you our best. We hope you feel much better. We certainly do miss you here tonight. All right, so I gotta get back in the house tomorrow. Sorry, when I say house, whenever Jessica and Bell might say house, we don't mean our house, because we call it home. When we say we have to get back in the house, means I've got to go back to Queen's Park tomorrow when I have to debate the gender-affirming healthcare bill. And I have to look across the aisle, and I'm staring at a wall of conservatives. And I gotta tell these guys, what is gender-affirming healthcare? And so, let's Google it. That's someone's phone.
Yes.
This is happening. What is gender-affirming healthcare? Procedures, medical treatments, and referral processes that align a patient's body and physical presentation with their gender identity, surgeries, hormone replacement therapy, puberty blockers, as well as other kinds of care that affirm a person's gender. I don't think that's going to fly that well tomorrow. So I want to start off with my friends Jordan and Sil. You work with people in Ontario, trans individuals who walk through your doors, as well as healthcare professionals who want to ask the question, how do I be in a better position to deliver the care that my clients, my patients are looking for? Jordan, what is gender-affirming healthcare?
You know, I love this question. It's a little bit of a soapbox for me because I think that I actually don't work primarily with healthcare providers. I work primarily with parents and families and with young people. And you might imagine that parents, 100% of parents that I come into contact with are afraid of the gender-affirming care. They're afraid, they're mostly afraid of, there's a lot of fear. I think there's a lot of fear around youth who are exploring gender in any number of ways right now. And I think what we do with fear is actually really important. Maybe that's another soapbox. My soapbox around gender affirming care is that I don't think that I've actually ever heard it described in the way that I think it should function. What I think gender-affirming care is not, yes, you should proceed with medical interventions or not, or yes, you are trans and you are not. Nobody gets to determine those things. Access to healthcare is a basic human right that everyone deserves. Gender-affirming care, I think, this is my humble opinion, is being curious about the question of what is going to optimize this journey for somebody. What is going to optimize mental health outcomes, positive mental health outcomes for anybody who is exploring gender? I think that that's the approach that we take as parents. I think that's the approach that we take as healthcare providers. And I think that also gives like everybody a way into the conversation. Because I think that even conservatives hopefully in some part of their brain are like, I want what's best for kids. And actually we're aligned there. We also want what's best for kids. So that's my definition of gender affirming care.
Fantastic. So you ready to add? I want you to add. Do you want someone to add to this?
It's good. I think that one of the things we don't think about when we talk about gender affirming care is that we are not just talking about surgeries and hormones. We are talking about a holistic way of approaching healthcare. We are talking about someone being able to walk into an emergency room or into a primary care provider's office and be treated with dignity and respect, having washrooms that they are not going to be harassed, having a conversation about my stomach hurts and not have that conversation be about, well, it must be your hormones in the first place. But to think, okay, what else is happening to this person? What are all the issues? What are the social determinants of health? Are they living in poverty? Do they have security? How can I provide this care from a trans-affirming perspective? Not just as a, okay, yes, not surgeries, yes, not hormones, moving right along, right? A whole humanizing approach to healthcare.
Thank you for that. I think that is a wonderful way for us to start the conversation tonight, is to take a look at the whole person. I remember coming out at age 16, and some of you may know my story. I told my parents I was gay, I got kicked out of the house. And it's spent several years trying to find my way back to them, and it was very challenging and felt very lonely. Then I had to come out and say I'm non-binary. And it felt like I had to do it all over again and to explain how I lived my life for all these years as a lesbian, and now adding one more thing to it. Hella hard. So I don't think I've ever really mastered my story, to be quite honest. Most people know my story because I'm a public figure for some time. You may know my story coming out as a queer kid. But I don't think I've ever told my story properly as a non-binary person, a member of the trans community. Susan Gavin knows what I'm talking about because I spoke to you about this. You're a master storyteller. Yes. You have broadcast our experience, a representation, a slice of our community in the most beautiful and humane way, and entertaining into the living rooms and onto the screens of communities and those abroad. How do you tell the story? Where do you draw inspiration to begin the storytelling?
It's a really good question because I think for me, my work is the kind of storytelling is so connected to the form or medium in which it's going to take place. And I think for people who know my theater work and the television work, know that, when I think about my play at Georgia, there was a lot of difficult conversations that I wanted to have with my mother that I wasn't able to at that time, that kind of got turned into this creative exploration, like what if I could ask my mom these questions about do you like me? Do you think I'm a good person? But the thing about sort of, and I don't know, I'm not, it was a calculated kind of thing for me because I knew that I was going to step into a kind of visibility that was going to completely terrify me and change my life, and that is what happened. And I thought it was important that I approach the work with honesty, but also keep some things to myself. Like I thought it would be important for my own experience that I don't kind of give everything to this industry, which I totally work in and kind of appreciate, but it's a machine and it can be so dehumanizing to kind of get in that way, and so I think I try to approach my work with like an open heart, but I like my secrets too, and I feel like it's important for trans people to be able to really be the kind of agents of how much their story gets revealed, when their story gets revealed, and when there's conversations about children being forced to kind of come out to their parents at ages where they might not be ready, and I take that really, really seriously, and I don't know, I kind of connected to my own life, and I'm like, sort of is not about it. There's so much non-truth in it as well, and that was intentional.
And thank you. I mean, for those who haven't seen it, to be able to see stories about ourselves on the screen that's not always so tragic. We always die. There's a horrible ending somewhere, and to be able to find the beautiful stories of humanity in the messiness of family and community connection, I think is what makes it so beautiful. But we also know that our stories can be quite transformative. Our stories, as we tell them, is oftentimes the best form of advocacy. And as we were getting the bill ready for second reading, we asked and invited the community to send us their stories. Some of the stories I'm going to read into the House, Queen's Park. And so I think, storytelling is going to be a big piece of what you folks will even do when you're dealing with parents, correct? Yeah, you work with parents? Yeah. So Jordan, you work with young people and with families and their parents. So what's the best way to use storytelling to inform that individual so they can become more supportive?
Yeah, what a good question. I do actually think about it a lot, that I do work with parents, and I think that the reason that they trust me is because I'm also a parent. I talk a lot actually about this thing that happens in the group space where I work with parents. I call it the sacred exchange. The exchange is, I will take all of your fear, all of your transphobia, and I will create safety for you around those thoughts. But in exchange, I'm going to expect you to transform. And so that's the process that we do through the group. And I think that, like, a good facilitator would be able to do that, but it really helps them also care, because as they're going through those different milestones and hitting those different places of fear, I can also be like, yeah, I get that, because they're also encountering those things. So I think that storytelling comes out, and I hear that too with what you were saying around like what you would hold and what you would share. I think to do that kind of work with parents that requires you to be open to their transphobia means that you do have to say a little bit of your story for yourself, or a lot of your story for yourself. And so the way that I hold power there is that I'm strategic about what I share. What I share, I use with a purpose to be able to support parents to really move through their shit, so that they can go back and be really amazing supportive parents for their kids. And so it's not, I'm not giving my time for free, I'm giving it, I'm going to require that people to process together. And so I think it's through that like mutual risk-taking and love that parents are also able to transform their perspectives.
That's actually really well said. It actually reminds me of the time when I recall meeting a parent who was just so worried about their child and they thought they could come and talk because, well, you're gay, so therefore I'm going to talk to you about a gay kid. And they just need someone to talk to. Like oftentimes because there isn't a lot of good information out there and even less back then. But now people with the abundance of good information, high quality research and data, but we're also seeing this counter-spin of a lot of misinformation and disinformation and campaigns that are specifically targeting the trans community in particular. And so I guess my next question is really about the landscape. I'm just going to say the political landscape. You folks have been doing this work abroad, providing access to gender-affirming care for some time. And so, Lana, in your opinion, what has changed in the last 10 years? Are we in a better place today than we were 10 years ago?
Okay, can I start with the 30 years? Is that,
Yeah.
okay. Because I think we need to look at this in a way of, we have made so many gains that now they're coming to us. It's not that we haven't made things. We still need to make a lot more of them. And certainly since I started at the University of Ontario, funny story, Jordan, parental leave, I took over Jordan's job, and here I am, we are both in this station together. I think that in the last 10 years, and certainly in the last 2 years, so we made so many things, right? In 2016, we were able to get a different landscape with access to gender surgeries, we decentralized the assessments from the gender can manage, so primary providers could do assessment for access surgeries. So all of that were tremendous gains, and the people who are here, Susan and others that I see, who have been in this battle for a long time, know that there have been landmarks for big change. But now, things are turning, and we are being influenced by what's happening in the South, right, in the States. And so, I think that the question for us is, what kind of society do we want? Do we want a society that embraces every person that society? Or do we want a society only for certain people? Or cisgender, heterosexual, etc., etc. And I think the very vast majority of Canadians, and I'm going to say 99.9%, want a just and equitable society where everyone is respected. So what's changing? Which brings us to what's changing is that a few very healthy voices, but very few are spreading this information, especially in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, when I was doing this work, I was not hearing providers say, I have someone harassing me. Am I doing it? Coming to my door, or calling me, and calling my secretaries, or trying to take down my website. That's what's changed, right? Providers are being targeted. So we need to protect and support and do everything we can for the providers who are already providing gender care. And try more, educate more individuals so that we can have more people access the care they need. I could go on.
No, I think that was good. I would like to subscribe to your world. Just if their society sounds pretty awesome to me. I think what I'm seeing, as we are all seeing, is this remarkable wave of new transphobic hate that has taken up a lot of space in legislative houses, and not just in the US, but here in Canada as well. We don't have to look too far to know that in New Brunswick and Alberta, There has been legislation put forward by those premiers that have been launching, like literally launching attacks on trans people and non-binary people. And this includes making announcements with or without their caucus, but when a premier says something, usually the caucus shows along, not too far away. And they've been putting forward legislation to restrict and outright ban gender-affirming healthcare. And so this world that I want to live in Still's world, it's here, right here in Canada. And earlier last year, I should say, we had the Minister of Education talk about parental rights and how the parents have the absolute right over their children to some degree. Is how it was framed. I'm just breaking it down very simply. And then we had a premier right here in Ontario that talked about gender ideology, so indoctrination. And we had in September 23, last September, we had the million person march called Save the Children. And that was a multi-city rally targeting trans and non-binary people to us LGBT people. What I found interesting about all of that activity as it was coming through Ontario and right across our doorstep was the crowds of families who brought out their children to denounce trans people. And these young kids were carrying these signs that said, no to trans rights, and parents were writing them on about the things that they felt that children should take a position on. And you know what, it's their kids, they can say what they want. But it was amazing to me the amount of misinformation that was being circulated and what was on those signs. It was very, very hateful. But I want to come back to you because I feel like having seen your work and the way you convey the humanity of your characters, even if I was really upset about my kid coming out as queer and trans, you're able to tell a story and frame a narrative that weakens and melts the heart a little bit. Does that make sense? And because you're able to bring the viewer in, I really feel like you've got something really special to share, especially with the way you tell a story about the trans experience. And the trans experience in racialized families, the trans experience in the Muslim community, the trans experience in the Pakistani diaspora. Walk us through what that looks like when you are telling your story to the community.
I will definitely do that, I think. But I'm thinking about this moment. I was in Vancouver a couple of months ago for a conference, and I was asked a question about, about that kind of 1 million march thing and the presence of Pakistani parents, Muslim parents, and I think it essentially was a question about how I feel about that, or what things do I feel like I could do to kind of, maybe reach certain people or something. And I think that I'm becoming more and more curious about creating work in Urdu, like almost kind of completely. Like my play had chunks of it. There was English, and I know from my mom who I don't know what she kind of votes for politically, but I know that she's not like, I love my trans kids, and when I think about the way she consumes stories, and when it's in her language, it pierces her in this like really specific way, and she kind of gets hooked, and she loves watching her kind of soap operas, and I'm really thinking about that more and more, like how to get into that space, and for this community that I'm very connected to. I grew up around all kinds South Asian Muslim folks, and my mom has friends who have friends, and I think that if there's more resources in their languages and really kind of speaking in depth about these things, like I feel like it could make a real difference. And I know for me that's storytelling, but I think resources can look like a lot of different things. And, you know, all to say, before making Sort of, I knew how many queer and trans South Asian Muslim folks were out there in the world. Like, I did not move through it like I'm the only one. I had a lot of friends talking to me about their experience moving through relationships with parents and community members. And, you know, in so many ways, I think that show, it doesn't reach everybody, you know, and I know that people don't take a chance on it. They could turn it off because of what I look like, you know. But I think we were, you know, with that story in particular, I did think it was really important that we, the mother character on the show, she's many things, and she struggles with her kid, and then she goes on a journey, and her journey also isn't all positive, like isn't all like now I'm a P-flat mom, right? She still struggles or is wrapping her head around it even in the third and final season. And, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place now, but I don't know. I think that it's a really specific experience, and I'm trying to extend as much empathy as possible to my parents, to their friends. But I also have hope because, like, I just had an hour-long phone call with my mom today, you know, and we were talking about skincare products and yeah, I don't know. Did I answer?
No, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And actually, I'd like to come to something that you said that I think is actually critical. In the conversations I've had with Chinese parents, my own, is that I really had to search for literature in Chinese so I could explain to them what does it mean that queer kid. And it was hard to find. It was really hard to find. And so in Ontario, we know, Jessica Bell's been doing the work because she represents a sizable Chinese community in her patch of the city, is that we're seeing more of our Ontarians lose access to primary healthcare physicians. And we're seeing primary healthcare physicians within the Chinese community, many of them retiring. So we're seeing thousands of people, and this is many communities, I'm just using Chinese as an example here. We're seeing thousands of people lose access to their primary healthcare. And at the same time, that means that they're not speaking Cantonese or Mandarin. And the next healthcare practitioners are going to have some very difficult time communicating with them. So this is a really great question, and thank you for allowing for bringing this up. The healthcare services in Ontario are primarily bilingual, like English speaking, most of the times. And we don't oftentimes see information translated into a multitude of languages. And when it comes to gender-affirming healthcare, I suspect it's even less. So when you have someone who is coming through your door, Jordan, still, who's coming from a background that is not English-speaking Ontario Canadian, how would you provide services and support to that individual if their only language was, for example, Urdu?
Yeah, we want to go. Yeah, our services are
Only English?
service staff. Yeah, we offer inclusive virtual services that are huge across the board service staff. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that now we're talking about systemic violence, right? Because it's not just that individuals who are either just migrant or have been here for many years and are not able to manage the language. We're talking about systemic violence for people who grew up here or racialized and speak a certain language, their language, one language, 3. When women do not have access to integrated healthcare because all the things that we know, racism, the money inequalities. So it's not just about gender affirming care, right? It's about all the systemic barriers that then create a system where you don't have enough doctors, enough practitioners, and nurses to speak more than one language. In a city, if we are not around the start with, it has more than 163 languages. How is it possible? Right? So this is one of the issues.
Yeah, and that's
Sure.
I feel like, for people who are not able to speak all languages, but I think the component of that work is like strategic partnerships. Like we have this thing that works here, like we work for you, and so we like build out partnerships to be able to support the development of services and things that are all in like, culturally specific rather than safe ways that we cannot do. So there are always ways, that there's always a need for more. I think.
And that's absolutely right, there's always a need for more, but it sounds to me like, based on the observations and this experience, trans and non-binary people have extra burdens. There's compounded issues that have to be overcome. I'm just very curious to know, in your opinion, because so you work with healthcare professionals across Ontario, you train them. They reach out to you and Sugar Health, Ontario, and they come to you and say, I'm in a rural community, I'm on a reserve, wherever they are. I have a patient who is looking for this type of healthcare, and it's gender-affirming healthcare. And they come to you and they have what baseline of understanding? Are they coming to you with like a little bit of understanding? Are they coming to you with, some of their perceptions, and they need you to clarify? Or are they coming to you with, and these are healthcare professionals, these are doctors in the communities. What questions do they ask of you in order for them to deliver the care for the patients?
So I think it depends on where we're talking, because we also get the same questions from people in large urban areas. And this is where the urban rural divide is not so much the divide when it comes to gender affirming care, in the sense that the lack of education is across the board, right? The added burden for someone who's in a rural community is that they may be the only doctor for hundreds of kilometers, and they are serving so many people, and then someone shows up who is non-binary or trans, and they just don't have the knowledge, and so what happens to that person, that client, is usually they get out of the community. And now we have other issues, right? So they're waiting for an endocrinologist, because that one doctor is just overburdened and overwhelming. And they might want to help, so we get lots of people who are like, I really want to help, but I just don't have the time to come to your training. Just to be clear, your trainings are very accessible, they are online. We used to go around the province teaching, we don't do that anymore, so that people can do it easier online, but still, it's sometimes they just can't do it. So I think that the vast majority of the people that come to us is not that they don't want to provide the service or the care, is that they learn nothing at med school or at a nurse practitioner, nothing, because we're talking about people who practice for 10, 15, 20 years. So they have no education at all. There's a little bit of medical education happening now, but it's very minor. So they are starting from scratch, and because of the amount of disinformation and misinformation that is out there, now they're coming with even more wrong perceptions of what a trans and non-binary person is, because everybody's on TikTok and on Instagram, whatever it is. So that's really the issue that we face. Since we're talking about this, half of my team is here, so I just want to give a shout out to them because they do a lot of things. many trainings, and we trained, like, so far this year, we've trained almost 4,500 people. So, it's the everyday answering the questions and just redirecting. And again, I think for the most people, of course, there is like the larger segment of society, people who are entrenched in their beliefs and they do not want to change. So, yes, we have those, and those are a small minority. But the vast majority of providers are just like, I don't know what to do, and I don't know if I can do it. And they're like, yes, you can do it, you can do it. Come to us, we will help you, we will help you. We have a trans-self mentorship program. We have assisted living. We have training, 16 courses. Which one would you like? So, basically, that's where we are.
And we're very grateful for the work that Sherman Health is one hospital. Sherman Health is one hospital in Ontario.
It's not a hospital, it's a family health team, or an Ontario health team now, we don't know, because it's changing.
It keeps changing. So, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's one tiny little hospital in downtown Toronto that's providing support and education resources for the entire healthcare professional across Ontario.
Yes, so Rainbow Ontario is the program, it's the educational program, right? So Sherman Health is just a clinic in downtown Toronto, they only now serve the downtown east side. We, as a program, serve the entire province of Ontario. So people come to us from remote, like before the pandemic, I went to Elliott Lake, and I spoke to a packed room of people. Elliott Lake is tiny, but the room was packed, which leads me back to people who don't want to learn. They just need the opportunity, and for us to be out there and helping them, right? And protecting them, those who want to live.
Can I just ask, how large is the budget of Rainbow Health Ontario? How large is the budget of Rainbow Health Ontario? Yeah.
Is the staff?
Budget.
No.
We get millions of dollars, you guys have.
It's not very large. For the amount of work that we do, no. It's small, small amount of money, so basically 85% of it goes to pay the people who do the work, and the rest we do with everything that we do with the rest, all the resources we produce, all the designs that we have to do, running the learning management system, all of that comes out of the other tiny amount of money. Which is why now we are forced to charge for our courses a little bit. We charge very little. We are now in a post-recovery mode because we don't put money in. I mean, it's good. It's good. We're yay. Thank you, dear God.
Well, it's up for one thing, certain copies is watching our live stream, just a shout out for extra funding here for Rainbow Health Ontario. Jordan, you've actually been co-author of some really groundbreaking studies in Ontario. I think you've put forward some work that has really shifted the terrain for gender-affirming healthcare and for trans health rights. I'm just curious, in your opinion, if you could deliver a message to the Premier or to government, as you say, government. What are the top two things that you would like to see the Ontario government do to ensure that we have better gender-affirming healthcare, besides passing my bill?
Great question. What do I really want to say here? I think that it is cowardly to operationalize the fear of parents and use trans kids and youth and adults as pawns for a political agenda. And just like so much to be curious about. And I want to, like, I just want to be curious with everybody. Like, parents are really afraid. Don't we want to know why? I feel like if we want to, if we can ask why and like really understand it, then we're going to do really, really good work here. I know this is not what you asked. I think that like, yeah, I think that the strategy around like base building and like getting that order, you know, building up this frenzy around like transitioning children and surgery, like babies, like that, like it's so transparent. You're watching, we see right through this. And like anyone who knows anything about supporting kids youth knows that one, that's not what is happening, and two, it's not how you protect, that's not how you protect kids. And so like but I guess my most generous invite is like join us. We love this for young people. If you also want that, like please, that's the work that we are deeply dedicated to doing and have been doing. Like support us and support them. And yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
Thank you, and thank you for saying the beautiful way that you did. I really, I mean, it's you know, I also recognize that there's some buildings that we don't always get to walk in. I mean, I'm so grateful that we're in this church that affirms us, and thank you. You know, I walk into Queen's Park every single day, and there are days where I'm just like thinking, why am I here? And using the they pronoun and having everybody misgender me, and I'm just like, whatever, just move on. And Martin does, you know what, I just have to continue charging and doing the work that needs to be done. And there are times where I can be very demoralizing, and I think tomorrow, during the debate, things will probably be said. I'm going to have to sit there and listen to it. And maybe I don't have a chance to respond. Sometimes we have a chance to respond. But it's amazing what people don't know and how they think they know. But you and I all know they do. And so, I'm curious to know, because now we all have a little bit of age on us, a few years of wisdom. If there was an opportunity for you to tell your 16-year-old self what you now know, the stories that you picked up along the magnificent, beautiful journey of life, what would you tell your 16-year-old self who might have been spiraling around, just confused and scared?
I think that at that age especially, I thought I had to kind of change everything about myself in order for people to like me or hear me and listen to me. And I'm really glad I didn't really change anything about myself, and now I think people like me and listen to me. Like, this kind of, I think that age is so vulnerable, and especially as at that age, I knew so much. I liked my sister's clothing, but I didn't have the language too. Like it was not really using the word trans, and it only kind of started around when I was in college. Like Laverne Cox had a moment in 2014 that kind of really kind of woke a lot of things up in me. But I think I feel so lucky that I kind of stuck around and just kept to myself and stayed true to myself, but just kind of didn't get super caught up in, okay, well, if I'm Muslim, then I can't be trans, or if I'm trans, I didn't let that argument kind of dictate my life. I just kept kind of living it, and yeah, I'm really, really grateful for that.
And we're so grateful that you are who you are, and thank you for that beautiful story. I really believe that we need to be able to find ways of celebrating hope and joy. I've talked a little bit about some of the challenges that we have before us, the dark times. I also know that beyond the misinformation and disinformation that's swirling out there, I want to be able to just share a couple of quick things. Because gender affirming healthcare is this really big catchphrase, right, Jordan? Yeah. And oftentimes we say it, and maybe it means a couple of different things to all of us in this room, and it might mean very different things to other people who are not in this group, who are struggling with their own family journeys. And so I'm really interested in sort of getting to the facts, if I may. So I'm going to spring this on you guys a little bit, because I feel like you know the answers. So, yeah, I know. I also know that because of the work that they do, they know. So here's, let's launch right into it. Can minors get surgery?
So I have an issue with my hearing aids.
Okay,
So either pass me the paper or please not.
sure. My question is, can minors get surgery? Is it that simple for an 18-year-old to walk into a clinic and say, yes, I'm looking for some surgery? Is it that simple? Because that's the way some people make it sound, like you can just walk into any clinic and just get surgery.
No, I guess. Minors get surgeries. No, some surgeries no, some surgeries yes.
We're talking gender affirming care. So can any average teenager walk into a clinic and say, I'd like to get some surgery? Is it that simple?
No.
Because there are people out there who make it sound like you can just drop her hat, walk through the door and get surgery.
No. It's a process. It's a process. And it's a long process. So you have to take this.
I think there are questions to be asking. To be honest, because the follow-up question is, should they be allowed to, yes or no? And again, I just don't, anytime we start into that kind of way thinking, I think we put ourselves in a trap. It's actually not that's not what gender affirming care is. Gender affirming care is optimizing conditions for somebody to be able to make informed consent decisions about their future. We don't get to tell people who they are. We don't get to tell people
Thank you. Our kids being rushed into treatment because we hear a lot of people on TV who are telling parents that you better keep your kids away from trans people because it's contagious. Like, we sneeze on you, you're gonna catch. And so everybody cover up this. Our kids being rushed into treatment.
I think that if you know anything about informed consent decision making for healthcare decisions, there's a number of criteria that have to be met, which I'm not going to go through because it's really boring, but it's also pretty straightforward. But the last criteria is that decisions have to be made free of coercion. And I name that because healthcare as an institution actually does a really bad job of talking about the ways that transphobia and transmisogyny are coercive. Those are the most coercive forces that play when young people and adults are trying to make decisions about what they want for their future in terms of transition. And so if you are a healthcare provider that is concerned about informed consent decision making, about young people, children, or youth being coerced in particular ways, your job is to do your absolute best to create pockets of safety for anybody in your care so that they are able to freely and without judgment and fear and terror explore who they are so that they can make wise decisions about their future. And so if you want to talk about coercive forces for young people or for children, we have to start there. Transphobia is the most coercive force.
So let's just for a quick minute talk.
But just to be clear, there are no medical interventions for children, regardless. There are no medical interventions for children. You have to be in puberty to have any possibility of any medical intervention. And usually that's puberty suppression, which would be the first step that adolescents ask for. But you cannot, as a child, there is nothing to be done medically.
There is one exception to that. Just to make sure we understand this, is intersex children is the exception.
I never really, yes, that's different.
It is a very strange outlier, I agree.
So thank you for that. I think that we can also, it's okay, I just have a couple more, can I go through these? Yeah, that's good. All right, so I also wanted to talk about puberty blockers. Right, because it's going to come up, in the house, they're going to ask a lot of questions, and we have an opportunity to debunk today, so let's debunk. There is a lot of talk on right-wing channels about puberty blockers and how doctors are over-prescribing them and everybody gets them. Anybody who puts up their hands, anybody, I'm going to give them all like Oprah. Blockers right in the house. Isn't that simple? Or do you have to actually be, do you have to get some counseling? Do you have to go on a wait list? Like, how does this work? Hey, Gordon, I
So gender early care is creating the conditions for people to make This product is a temporary intervention that causes, we talk about like irreversible changes to the body. You know what makes irreversible changes to the body? Puberty. Gives a whole family a space to breathe and be able to make wise choices about their future without the presence of constant distress around the body keeping against their will. And so I just wanted to, again, like, this is different from care. It is not a permanent intervention, it is time limited, and it is a breath. Like, people think that like puberty blockers are hormones, that they make quote unquote permanent changes to the body. They pause time. They pause time and slow things down so that decision making is more logical. It's a great thing.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna get boring and technical. You cannot prescribe puberty suppression or blockers, whatever you want to call it, unless someone is in Tanner stage 2. Which means that kids have to be in puberty to be suppressed for puberty. You cannot medicate anybody unless they have hit puberty. Just to be clear of the whole kids business. And it requires a very lengthy process with the healthcare provider who is usually, we hope, has had a relationship with that adolescent for a while, which is why we want puberty suppression to come in primary care, because we want the same provider instead of shipping kids out to a specialized clinic that has to do a waiting list. And when they get there, puberty is gone. Young adults. So, back to primary care and supporting our primary care providers and public health, making them well educated in all the departments. We have a training in puberty suppression, which we do with providers, with someone who's sick kids. So it is training. People can do this in their primary care offices now, I need you very clear about the handing out, we were just questioning. Blueprint is tremendously expensive. So this is the other problem. Only a certain segment of society can have access to this. So we're going to cover them, we'll get into that later. But it's $1,500, around that, somewhere between 1,500 and 1,700. I don't know where we are at the price now. So this is not the handing out, it's not no, it's a process, it's an assessment. The kids have to go and talk to someone. They get to be themselves without fear. So that person can say, yes, and make sure that their blood tests taken and things are checked so that this is proper care.
Thank you. You know, our time is coming to an end, and I feel like we're just getting going. Our time is coming to an end, but I feel like it's just getting going. But we do have to clear the church at some point. So I really want to end on a note of hope, because I feel like we need hope. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of heads nod. We need hope. And this is a question to all of our speakers tonight. What gives you hope for trans rights in Ontario and the world right now?
Okay, I'll share my words, yeah, I have to do it. I feel hopeful, because it's be in contact with you. I'm really hopeful. I'm like an aging trans elder. It's way back to the young people, they're like talking about different things that I could not even imagine. And they're just going on my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys got it, you got it. So I feel like you give me hope. And I also, yeah, I feel like the parents that I work with, I have now worked with like hundreds of parents, and they go on to do really amazing things. And sometimes those amazing things are just like, oh, I get it now. And have like a really strong, connected relationship with their kids. And sometimes they also go out in the world and make like really big change. And I feel like we're kind of sneakily mobilizing with the little army of parents. Like, go out and be like trying to break this, and I think that like. Yeah, just watch them learn to themselves, and that would be a tremendous amount of growth. And for my own kids, like I have two young kids, a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, and both of them are going on my in terms of gender. They're like, you were trans? I'll show you trans. And they have. They're amazing. Like, I feel like they're pushing out more and more, and they grow into themselves. Like, I'm so dedicated to them for teaching you about gender, so yeah, it's a good goal.
Yes, in the late fall, I facilitated and created a writing program for trans youth specifically, between ages like 10 and 13, and I think about those kids too, and how they just were themselves, and it was a really fun space, and I had to like stop myself from crying every time I was like facilitating that program, because it was an image that I didn't have growing up, and then I just kind of earlier when we were chatting on the phone, I was talking about my doctor, and my doctor's great. Like, he's actually a nice person who's gentle with me and talks about medical transition as a non-linear thing, and I know that a lot of my friends don't have access to the kind of care that they want and need and deserve, but I know some of my friends do, and I do, and I don't know, that's giving me hope right now that there are people out there who are providing care in a really like nuanced and specific and holistic way.
That's right, because not all is worth it. So last word to you, what gives you hope
Well, I'm gonna stay with my work, which is that we keep getting requests. I had to let people in today, like we overflowed on our hormone training, our transition-related hormone training. People that are knocking at the door and, please let me in, I need this training today, I can't wait until evening. So, if that's not perfect,
Amazing, and I wanted to leave us, I'd like to leave this.
Yeah.
What's giving me hope, to be quite honest, all of you. It's been a pretty rough time at Queen's Park. I think that, I was really looking forward to tonight's discussion because I said to myself, yes, I am in a room full of queers and trans and non-binary people, and we're gonna be able to just have a conversation about things that we as a community and March is you we hope as well as the second reading. So thank you. I want you to all think about what will give you. We've shared with you tonight some voices and experiences, and I know that we can all use a little bit more light these days in the light of darkness when we are heading into the holy month of Ramadan, and we are seeing that many families cannot even celebrate because they are not connected with one another. There's a war and a genocide taking place. We need hope. We need hope. And I want you to leave this place feeling hopeful and joyful. We are not alone. We're going to be stronger together. Thank you very much.